Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Let's Talk Broncos podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Zach Seegers, filling in for Bree Maestas and also Joey Richards. Joining me today, I've got Frankie Abbott, new member of the LTB family at Frankie's Film. Frankie, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm ready to tag team this out. We're gonna win the belt. We're gonna win the double team belt, and we're gonna take it to the top. Excited to make some predictions. Excited to get back to a Broncos game too. It's weird. I was almost like last week was such a relief to not have a game, but this week I'm back on the train. Let's see how the boys look. Let's get it going.
Yeah, and this game really could turn the season around. You win this one, all of a sudden you're 4-5, and you're probably just a game out of the 7 seed. Unless you expect the Chargers to upset the 49ers, or I forget who everyone else is playing, but all the teams ahead of the Broncos in that mix are underdogs this week. So it's a great week for them to pick up ground. The Titans are only slight favorites. They're potentially down Jeffrey Simmons and Tyre. So yeah, Frankie. Do you think the Broncos? Before we get into the bold predictions, do you think how do you feel about the Broncos' chances in this game?
I'm feeling actually pretty good. Like you said, so Jeffrey Simmons is fully declared out. Bud Dupree's not playing. They have a good amount of their defense not suiting up. I want to say their middle linebacker. I don't remember if it's Avery. I don't remember who exactly it is, but I know their middle linebacker's not playing as well. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Denver to actually move the ball through the running game, which is really hopeful for me. I was dreading watching Jeffrey Simmons just dominate the interior of the offensive line, but now that won't happen. Hopefully their backup isn't, as adequate of a run stuffer. And I think we're actually going to get to see a little bit of opportunity here, this team is beatable through the run without a lot of their pieces. They don't have a lot of options to take away our receivers. And I think on the opposite side of the ball, if Ryan Tannehill can't play, that kind of helps because Malik Willis, I think we've seen that this defense does really well against rookies. At least the Vic Fangio defense typically did well. Obviously, Ebro is a bit different, but, kind of similar schemes there. And I think we're going to see they don't really have a lot of weapons outside of Derrick Henry, obviously, that I think are going to terrify a lot of the Broncos cover guys too much, So I think that really helps them out. And I think it's a really good test with Lamar Jackson coming up in a couple weeks. If they get to go up against Malik Willis, who might be scrambling a little bit, I think that kind of helps them out a little bit. So I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, it's big and big pieces all over that Titans defense already marked out. Josh Thompson's been a depth corner for them. He's been helping them out. But that's the smallest piece that's already been called out. Zach Cunningham, really nice run stuffing linebacker for him, out. Bud Dupree, probably their best edge with Harold Landry on IR. He's out for this one. Amani Hooker, second best safety, but a really good safety. They've got a great tandem there with Byard and Hooker. He's out. Jeffrey Simmons, like we just talked about, all-pro candidate, out. So that's just huge. That is a nasty deal. Tyre Tart did not participate the first 2 days of practice, was a full participant today with an illness, so you imagine he'll be good to go. Kevin Strong, Ryan Tannehill went from limited to full to limited. Christian Fulton went limited to did not participate to limited. So other Titans that are pretty pivotal in Ryan Tannehill and Christian Fulton also potentially out. How do you think that impacts the Broncos' outlook?
I think it's just huge, but it's also one of those things where we've seen the Titans endure these injuries before and be able to compete. Last week with pretty not the same injuries, but a lot of similar injuries with Malik Willis starting for them and not having a great game, they were able to put up a fight against the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a very well-coached team. I think that's where we're probably going to see the biggest discrepancy in this game is Mike Vrabel gets his guys very, very ready to play the game. And Nathaniel Hackett, as we've seen thus far, hopefully that changes, doesn't necessarily get the boys that ready to go. We might see a little bit more mistakes on Denver's side, but it really is going to come down to how much they can contain Derrick Henry, obviously. That's kind of the story when you face the Titans, and this is going to be a big challenge. What a time to lose Bradley Chubb, especially with a lot of these other injuries coming around. You lost probably one of your better run defenders. Hopefully the guys like Draymond Jones and DJ Jones can keep it going, So it'll be a big test. It'll be a big challenge. I think the Ryan Tannehill ankle injury is really notable because I think that really if Ryan Tannehill is playing with a bum ankle versus Malik Willis, who is one of the better, elusive break sack, run the ball quarterbacks probably that is around right now. That's a big difference in what you're going to be facing on the defense. And if there was one thing that we saw the Vic Fangio defense struggle with over the past couple of years, it was those guys who can break, contain, and run. Like that's kind of a difficult thing where I don't know necessarily how that will go, but I'm feeling good.
That was the Vic Fangio version, though. I think you look at Lamar Jackson and then what Malik Willis struggled with, especially last week with Spags, and it was those aggressive looks. And I think Evero is a lot more willing to dial it up than Fangio ever was. Honestly, I think if Malik Willis starts this game, I'm so confident in the Broncos. I'm so confident in the Broncos winning this one. And although I feel pretty confident Tannehill starts this one, it was the same conversation last week. Everyone expected Tannehill to start. He walked out for warmups, ankle didn't feel right, and it was a Willis day. And then the week before that, he was also heavily expected to start up until the last moment. So I don't know what's going on with that ankle. It seems like it's really nagging him and bugging him. If it's Tannehill, I really would be worried about the Broncos' chances, but I just don't think Malik Willis is an NFL quarterback right now.
He's not. He's not at all. I just think, it's one of those things that just puts a little bit of extra stress on the defense. And as far as like,
but Tannehill's a better scrambler, I think, at this point. I think Willis is more athletic.
No, definitely.
But I think really Daniel Jones is crazy. Daniel Jones is crazy fast, but he's got like a clumsiness to him. He's not the most, I think, impressive. Like he doesn't have a natural running ability. Josh Allen just naturally knows like where to go with the ball. I don't know about Malik Willis, even though he's a very talented runner, and he's truly built like a running back, thick frame. He's like 6'2" or whatever. He looks lost. The game looks very fast for him right now.
Yeah, no, I think if they get to go up against a rookie quarterback, it's going to be pretty good looks. The Denver Broncos have a very good record against rookies. Obviously, that's on a whole different coaching staff, but they do well against those type of guys. And he's just been making so many mistakes lately that I think you're right that when you do see pressure get sent, it's going to be something that they can handle pretty well. So hopefully Malik Willis.
Absolutely. Bold predictions. Let's get into it. Do you want to start or would you like me to start?
I'll go first. I got one that I'm pretty excited about. So the Denver Broncos don't have a 20-yard rush on the season. It's been one of the sadder stories probably the entire. Did I steal one from you?
No, that's an interesting one. You're going. I thought about it, but I didn't believe in it enough. So
new acquisition, Chase Edmonds. I know it's a little bit early, and maybe this is like a week too soon, 2 weeks too soon type of thing. I think Chase Edmonds has the Broncos' longest rush of the season this week. I think they find a way to get him out into space. It wasn't going to be this prediction until we saw the missing pieces, and I think when you see what Tennessee is missing out on, I think we saw the inclusion of Graham Glasgow in the offensive line over Lloyd Cushenberry last week made a major difference in the ability to at least generate some push, or at the very least not have plays just get nuked in your face the second they start. That I think it's a very big possibility. I think we could see one of the better big play guys in the league. I think he's still averaging 5 yards a carry this season. He's been averaging, Chase Edmonds is a very good big play back, and I think he's a weapon that we're going to see Nathaniel Hackett utilize. He fits well in the outside zone scheme, even though we haven't really seen them run a ton of outside zone yet. Like, he does kind of fit what they're looking to do, I think. And I think he's an option that I kind of almost like better than a lot of the stuff they have. Like a tandem of Chase Edmonds and Latavius Murray is actually like kind of decent to me. And then you throw in some Melvin Gordon. Hey, you might have a little bit of something fun there. So that's my prediction. I think we get a Chase Edmonds 20-yard, maybe 20+ yard rush, but I think he sets the longest rush of the season for the Broncos, which is previously 18 yards. I
like it. I think that's a fun prediction. I'm not super confident about it, but I would love to see it happen. I'll definitely take you up on that. Yeah, I like it. That's nice and bold. I'm kind of going in a similar direction with the run game, focusing on the other side of the ball here, though. Derrick Henry has gone over 100 yards in all of his last 5 games. The Denver Broncos have allowed the opposing rusher to go over 100 yards in 4 of their last 5 games. I think they're going to limit Derrick Henry in this one. I think they are going to sell out to stop the run. I think you're going to see a fair amount of a 3 inside linebacker set, like a 5-3 box on a fairly regular basis. And they're going to dare the Titans to beat them through the air with what's a really limited group of weapons. And I think they have a good bit of faith. Obviously, they trust Surtain, but I think they have a good bit of faith in Mathis and then Kareem Jackson or Justin Simmons there on the back end. Really quick, we didn't talk about the Broncos injuries. Baron Browning's out. That definitely hurts. Justin Simmons is questionable. I think if they have Simmons, you're going to see even more of that because you're going to trust Simmons on the back end to help clean up Mathis. And you're going to trust Surtain a lot. These Titans weapons have done nothing. Like Robert Woods has been half as productive as Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and is the most productive Titans weapon by far. Outside of Robert Woods, who only has like 22 receptions, they don't have a single receiver with more than 15 receptions on the year.
No, it's kind of a murder show out there for the Titans receiving core. Chiggy is a guy I like. Their tight end, he's pretty fun, but like I think he's probably been like one of their leading receivers the past few weeks. Like their passing game is probably not going to be something that get it done. But I will take you up on the Derrick Henry bet because I'll be honest, man. Like losing Bradley Chubb, I think we'll still see the defensive front be pretty good. I think what is Nick Bonito, someone that also had a illness that he might not be able to play. Like this outside core is a little bit decimated, so I think we're going to see Draymond Jones shifted to the outside once in a while, and we're probably going to see Deshaun Williams brought in a lot more. And that's still a fine front, but I don't have faith in them stopping Derrick Henry. And I think one of the biggest things is that like we're talking about with this Malik Willis thing, if Malik Willis plays, man, like Malik Willis is not going to throw the ball more than 20 times, maybe not more than 15 times. So we're going to see Derrick Henry getting 20, 25, maybe up to like 30 carries this game. We know how bad Denver is at having these quick 3 and outs and then giving the defense the ball back. Like that's kind of a nightmare when you're facing a guy like Derrick Henry. That this could be one of those games where if the team's not turning the ball over, but not able to generate any offense so that the defense can get a breather, get their wits about them so they're not just getting battering rammed over and over and over again. You know, like it's kind of one of those things where I hope the offense is able to hold up their end of the bargain, at least on the standpoint of being on the field. It's not just we get 6 straight 3 and outs and all of a sudden we're seeing gas players not be able to tackle Derrick Henry and he's going for, 15 yards a clip every time he touches the ball. Because that is probably my biggest fear right now is that will happen. And I think there's probably a good chance he goes over 100 yards. But I'd be happy if it was a quiet 100 yards. If it was one of those games where, like, he's getting
25 for 100.
Right, exactly. Like something like that where he's not having an insane average. He doesn't break the long touchdown and maybe we hold him to just like 1 touchdown. I think that's still a beatable formula to get, in front of this team. But man, Derrick Henry looks unstoppable. And especially what we're seeing on the past like 5 weeks, like good Lord.
He's been a monster. And I think it's going to be tough to rein him in. But I have faith in the Broncos. DJ Jones leading the NFL in run stop win rate. Draymond Jones has been great there as well. Being down the edges is a big concern for me. I think that is where you can really see things exploited. But I think that's why you're going to see that 3 linebacker front. And I question each of those guys in coverage. But if you're just telling Jewel, who stood Henry up the last time these two teams met, Jewel Singleton, who's been playing with his hair on fire, and Jonas Griffith, who's maybe been the least impressive of the 3 this year, but is the most physically impressive of the 3 to go up against Derrick Henry. And I think you're just going to be telling them like, fire downhill, watch out for it.
Like we've got Pastor 10 on the back end. Get downhill and hit Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I'm glad you highlighted Chiggy though. When you look at all the analytics for Greg Dulcich and just how he's tearing it up this year, the only guy who's ahead of him is Chiggy. So if you make the sample size, now a sample size for Chiggy is half the size of Dulcich, and Dulcich obviously only played 3 games. His is already very small, but Chiggy's been a force for him. Okonkwo out of Maryland.
That dude can block his butt off. He goes hard. Him and Nate Davis and Ben Jones are like such a good tandem of people. And like Petit Frere has been kind of a little grabby. That's where like, man, if we had like one of the guys like of the Baron Browning, the Randy, obviously Chubb isn't going to be an option, but like one of those guys still like they could really take advantage of some of the tackle situation because those guys are a little bit grabby and not the quickest on the jump. But is what it is. Hopefully Nick Bonito can get on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to need Nick Bonito to show something in the run game because if he is kind of the Nick Bonito we've seen, that could literally be a game loser.
100%. No, Jonathan Cooper has to play a massive role for the rest of the season. Like, I think that really goes under the radar. Is like that is someone they really seem to trust in the run game. They've been putting him in on early downs. Like he's rotating in ahead of a lot of these guys from the beginning of the season. He plays, like, I don't know, I think he plays a good amount of special teams as well. Like this is a guy they really put a lot of stock into that, like now he's getting his chance to shine and hopefully he can, keep highlighting how decent he was, because I mean, the last time when they played in London, he had some really good rushes. I think he did against the Chargers as well. Like, this is a guy who can get it done in the pass rush game, so hopefully he can keep doing it.
Yeah, and the fact that he's Denver's like fifth edge rusher, I guess
Right.
fourth now that Chubb's traded, but he was Denver's fifth edge rusher. Like a lot of teams around the league, he'd be their second or third edge
Mm-hmm.
rusher, or fourth.
No.
Like, and not to say he's like a star or anything, but man, everyone around the league wants pass rushers.
That's a
The fact
quality
that he
piece.
was
That's a
number 5
quality
is
piece to
crazy.
have. And I mean, the Christopher Martin thing is going to be an interesting piece of this too, because I mean, like, I still haven't taken a look at his New York tape at all, really, but like, that's a guy who just got shipped into the building like 10 or however many days ago, and he's probably going to have to be like, he might be the starting edge tomorrow. Like, he might literally be.
That's actually a great point. He probably is, and then you're going to see Benito on passing downs. Yeah, Jacob Martin.
Jacob Martin
has gotten a pressure every game of the season. Is just a solid player. You look at his pass rush win rate, it's like 13, 14%, something like that. He's not superstar, but that'll be another, like, I think him and Cooper on early downs, you hope you can survive with that. And then you can still get enough pass rush out of Benito. And yeah, I guess Cooper, maybe Benito and Martin, probably that trio to make up for it. And then of course, Jones is on the interior. Frankie, what is your second bold prediction?
All right, so this one kind of goes hand in hand with what you were saying earlier about how no Titans receiver has been catching the ball whatsoever. I don't think a Titans receiver is going to break 30 yards, which I think is going to sound a lot crazier than it is. I don't think a Titans receiver has broken a 30 yards in the past like 2-3 weeks. I know for a fact they didn't last game. And if Malik Willis doesn't play, there's probably just a great chance this happens. And I was going to put it at 20, but you know, there's always like that chance you get the play action, little big play that I don't think is going to go for a big touchdown this week, but I do think we'll probably see one or two of those that we go like, oh, what happened? And then they kind of get, you know, it gets shut up a little, or it gets shut down a little bit. But so yeah, I don't think a Titans receiver is going to break 30 yards. Like you said, outside of Robert Woods, they just don't really have the guys to separate. Damari Mathis, K'Wan Williams, and Patrick Surtain have been arguably the best pass coverage unit in the league for the past like however many weeks that they've been playing together. They shut down everybody. We might, hopefully we don't see any more DPIs to come back for Damari Mathis, but he's been shut down. I think we're going to probably see him make a couple good open field tackles against Derrick Henry, and we're all going to say, yeah, that guy's pretty darn good this week. I'm excited to see what Damari Mathis does for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I like that one. That's tough. I'll take you up on it. I think they're going to be selling out for the run. I think there'll be some things open for the passing game. And Mathis is still really young. Feels like maybe regression to the mean, but this is an easy matchup for him. I don't know. That's a good one. I almost want to say no, but I'll take you up on it. Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm going, again, kind of similar, opposite side of the ball. I'm going Jerry Jeudy over 100 receiving yards.
Wow.
Don't think he's gone over 100 in a hot minute. Let me get the exact week on that. Of course, he did it in week 1, and yeah, hasn't done it since. Got to 96 in that Jets game. I think he's really stood out. The 6.0 yards per reception. Also, this gives me a chance to shout out some absolutely nutty Jerry Jeudy stats. His 6.0 yards per route run, which is a great wide receiver analytic. It's factored in how frequently they're targeted, which if you're getting targeted, you're getting open, how often you're catching the ball off those targets, and then what you're doing with those targets. So I think it's a nice all-in-one. It's not the most advanced, but it's a solid one. 6.00, the most by any player with at least 10 targets in a season. We're talking single season. Any player in a single season with at least 10 targets since 2015. Second place is Deshaun Jackson in like one of his weird stints with the Raiders. He had like 14 targets and it is at 5.0. So even if you want to talk about like weird sample size, and that's what's causing the Jerry Jeudy thing, there's your weird sample size example with Deshaun Watson right there, or Deshaun Jackson rather, right there. And it's a whole yard shy of Jerry Jeudy. Outside of that, you have to drop to like 1.56 yards shy to Tyreek Hill at 4.44. I think there's only like 3 guys above 4 yards in the last 8 years of NFL football. And he's at 6.00. It's crazy. As a result, no one's playing man against the Broncos. A lot of that's them not doing anything against zone. Greg Dulcich has been a nice little counterpunch there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you look at the Titans cornerbacks, Christian Fulton, questionable. Even if he plays, he's not going to be at 100%.
Yep.
Roger McCreary is giving up the highest passer rating when targeted of any rookie cornerback. Rookie cornerbacks, generally not great players.
He's got really short arms too.
Really short arms, allowing Judy to create separation more easily. And the Titans do not trust their cornerbacks outside of those top two.
Mm-hmm.
Like Roger McCreary is kind of dodgy. Christian Fulton's, I think, a solid starter. Outside of those top two, they do not trust their cornerbacks. They are trying to get safeties on the field as much as possible with that defense. And they're also down safeties. So I think it's a good blend for the wide receivers to go off. Broncos are going to need it with how good that Titans defensive front seven plays.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think a big part of it too is how much of that defensive front seven is going to be missing. It's going to give Russ a little bit of time to find those options out to Jerry Jeudy. And I want to touch on a point that you said, because you posted some great stats, or like you said, the 6.0 man beaters is great. But like what you were saying about Dulcich kind of finding a great counterpunch, I think you said, or I think he was at like 3.21 yards against zone. Like I think that kind of makes sense why we're seeing so much. 3.61, like, right? Like, that's very good. And I guess it kind of makes sense.
I'm crazy. Like, 3.10, and then Kelsey's 2.61.
Okay, but like, it's nice to see that, like, the offensive staff does kind of understand a little bit, I guess, how to use these guys when you are seeing over the past couple of weeks the Dulcich getting, I guess you can see more frequent utilization. Like, if they are facing against so much man, hopefully the reason we're seeing so much Dulcich is because he's so good against zone. Kind of makes sense. Hopefully that's what's happening, you know. But I think I'll take you up on it just because I don't know if Judy's going to be able to break 100 yards. I love Jerry Jeudy, and I think he is a very, you know, he's one of those receivers that we just I think is going to end up sadly ending up on another team and ending up looking like a superstar one day. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope he gets to find his bread here. But like, I just don't really know how that becomes at this point. But from what we've seen out of Russ this season with the deep ball accuracy, with all of it, I just question so much if we can really ever see a Jerry Jeudy that consistently is getting big targets. If he breaks a big play, sure. You know, we saw in the Seattle game, he had that 63-yard touchdown that was still on like a poorly placed ball that like he was able to break that one long. And that's how we're able to get 100-yard games out of Jeudy. But with the low amount of target share he gets already, combined with the fact that most of the targets he gets are kind of doo-doo because Russ doesn't have a shoulder right now or a leg, or he's fine and just kind of sucks. Who knows? Like, it's just hard for me to really believe in that guy. You know, if Jerry Jeudy, I can't rely on to get more than, who knows, 4 or 5 catches in a game. And that's probably one of Judy's better games this season. How can I expect him to average like 20 yards a reception and break 100 yards? Like, it'd be awesome to see. And I'd love it, but I don't know how you can be like I'm hopeful for it, but I just don't know if this is the week that it's going to happen. I expect kind of another low scoring game. And I think it's kind of one of those things where we're 10 weeks into the season now, or this is the 10th week, whatever. Season's flying very fast. We're over the past halfway point of the season, you know? And it's one of those things where like the team is kind of who they are at this point. We can really hope that they turn it around still. I think that we might see some late season magic and maybe a little bit of a run from Russ that we can still be like, oh, he's not terrible. He's maybe a little bit above average still, I hope. But I think we kind of know what this offense is going to be as a whole. And it is not going to be an offense that beats you through the air with receivers, you know, putting up 100-yard stat lines, and we're getting we're getting like 10 plus targets to our outside guys because we know they can beat people, which they can, but we just don't really do that much. And yeah, I think it's just kind of one of those hard things to really bank on. I wish and I hope that we see Jerry Jeudy really become the receiver we believe he can be, because again, I just think with the trade rumors coming up before the deadline of Jeudy, like it really wouldn't shock me at this point if he kind of continues on this trend. If in the offseason they're like, maybe we look to recoup some more picks and find some other weapons. But I think it would be a mistake because, again, man, like you're pointing out, no receiver is historically as good against man coverage as Jerry Jeudy. And I don't think people recognize like how useful of a trait that is. Like, and you like, this is going to sound silly, but like with recent Maddens, there's like the little abilities that give you like, oh, I can just run a slant and it'll always be open. That's basically Jerry Jeudy, man. Like this dude is just like a cheat code in man coverage. He will beat you. And he makes it like you're saying. So defenses can't even put themselves in a situation to get beat like that. And like, that's such a valuable piece.
It really is. And the thing about yards per route run, because I can already hear the people firing back, well, he doesn't make the difficult catches. He has all these drops, whatever. And as much as I could contest those points with additional stats, let's say it's as bad as you imagine it is. with the drops and with the contested catch stuff and everything, he is still producing routes run. That's factoring in the ones he's messing up too. And he's still producing at that rate. It's absolutely incredible. Also, in man coverage, he's hauling in 50% of his contested targets.
I mean, that's the thing, man, is like everyone likes to talk about the contested targets, but like, look at how these other offenses are able to scheme weapons that are like similar to Judy open. Like, I'm not trying to compare him to like a Justin Jeff. Like, you don't need Jerry Jeudy to make contested catches. That should kind of be the point. Obviously, you'd like him to be, and hopefully he develops into that. You know, Devontae Adams wasn't great at that coming out. But this is a guy who is best at getting himself so much space that a contested catch isn't even like a worry in your mind. It's like, oh, wow, like that guy's very open right there. I'm going to throw him the ball. Like, that is just, it's such a silly argument, honestly.
Yeah. That's the thing. He wins before and after the catch point. Sutton wins at the catch point, as does Tim Patrick. Different styles of play. I want to hit on a Greg Dulcich crazy stat really quick. Frankie, if you were to who do you think, let's say 4th down and like 4 or 5, something like that. Your life depends on it. You're throwing like, I don't know, a stick route or something, spacing or something like that to the tight end, something simple, basic, whatever. You just need someone who's going to sit down, find the soft spot in the zone. Any tight end in the NFL over like the last half decade, let's say, who are you going with? We're going to take Gronk out of it because he's not playing.
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, it's probably got to be Gronk. I don't know. You probably get like a Mark Andrews. You probably get like a Travis Kelce, maybe one of the older dudes. Like maybe you get like a Tony G or something.
I like it. Travis Kelce was the one I'm looking for. Greg Dulcich, as we said earlier, 3.1 yards per route run against zone right now. Travis Kelce's highest of his career is 2.61. Just to contextualize, I can go back through Mark Andrews and the rest of them too, but 3.1 is a crazy outlier. It's number 2 among all offensive players in the league. They're behind only Tyreek Hill, who's having a historic season at wide receiver and is obviously much more of a vertical threat than Dulcich.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's so nice to see translate from his college tape, because I mean, like as has been the repeated, you know, anyone who really talks about him or has paid attention, the dude's very smooth and he's just very like you say, he finds the soft spots and zones. He has a great understanding and feel for where he should be and just how to get open for his quarterback. Catches everything with his hands. He doesn't make it difficult on himself. I think that's the most exciting thing about Dulcich these first 3 weeks is like, you can act like, you know, obviously he's been historically good. I'm not trying to take that away from him, but he has not made it look hard. Like, this does not look like a guy that like we're seeing like, you know, like make one-handed crazy catches that we're not sure if he'll be able to consistently do this. Like, seeing him make these catches on seam balls, seeing him be able to sit down in between defenders on 3rd and shorts, like you're saying, like seeing him being able to make contested catches in the end zone and like things like that we haven't seen yet, but like being able to like drag multiple defenders, like seeing him work with KJ Hamler to find open spots, like those are exciting things that you can build off of. And a little bit of credit to the coaching staff for being able to take a guy who didn't get a lot of practice before the first 3 weeks he got to play, and then, you know, being able to utilize him in a way that does get to show off his strengths. But like, it's really cool to see a guy that like, and credit to him for being pretty good in the run game too, because that was one concern definitely coming out, that I think you see a lot of these younger tight ends coming out. Like, you know, there's a lot of guys coming out next year that look like they're going to be great tight ends. And I think a question mark will be how quickly they can adapt to that pro game. But like, Dulcich has been able to come in and like, I'm not going to say he's been great. You know, he went up against Trayvon Walker a lot against the Jacksonville team, and Trayvon Walker is an alien. Like, I'm going to be completely honest with you, man. Watching that guy play is just hilarious. But like the dude puts in effort, and you know, we haven't seen a ton of effort in our blocking from our weapons over the past few years. You know, like, and it's really nice to see outside of like guys like Tim Patrick. So seeing that out of a rookie who, you know, we're hearing great things about how he's vocal in the locker room. Guys are looking to him for, you know, what they should be doing. Clearly he's taken a hold of this role. And like, I remember Albright said a thing, it was like a few weeks ago about Alberto just didn't have that alpha in him. And that's why a lot of the coaching staff wasn't super high on him, which, you know, I didn't love, but I also kind of, you look at a guy like Dulcich and you can kind of understand, like, he's clearly taken a hold of the role, and he's clearly just constantly getting better, constantly showing you that he's willing to do the things that are like easy and hard. He's just willing to be that guy that you need. He's willing to be a kind of a glue guy for this team. And that's really cool in what this offense needs right now.
Yeah, he might be the best weapon on this offense right now, which is crazy. He's outpacing, I think, the rest of them. Yeah, I think either he or Jeudy has a big game on Sunday. Frankie, I think that'll do it for us. Where can all the people find your work?
All right, so I write over at Mile High Report. I put an article over there every week on my film breakdown of the Broncos game, try to grab a few players I like. FrankiesFilm.com is my website where I'll probably be throwing a few scouting reports up this year. Frankie's Film on Twitter. Follow me. I post a lot of clips, post some funny memeage, post my emotional reactions to the game or whatever is happening in my life. And me and Joey are starting up a podcast right here on the LTB network. Every single Thursday, we're going to be hitting you guys with some awesome draft content. It'll be a little bit through the Broncos lens, but mainly just covering all the prospects that we love. We put in hours and hours and hours into watching these guys, so we might as well get to tell you guys a little bit about it. Hopefully get you guys involved. If you got any questions you want to send in to us, please contact us and just tell us prospects you'd love to see or anything you'd like to see on that show. And yeah.
Absolutely. Everyone, make sure you are checking that out. Frankie's one of the best draft minds in the market, and he's only getting started. I don't want to name names for professional reasons, but there are a lot of people in this market that market themselves as draft analysts, and they don't know what is going on. Frankie knows what's going on. Check him out. Check the show out with Joey. That'll start next Thursday, rather.
The 17th. The 17th is the episode 0. We won't be fully diving into content yet. Get to know us a little bit.
I like it, but just this coming Thursday, make sure you're tuning into that. All my writing over at milehighsports.com. Just dropped my game preview for the upcoming Titans game, and then on Twitter at Zach_Seegers. Until tomorrow, same time, same place. See y'all. Have a good one.